Yes, lads, what is going on? And welcome to the Running Irishman. Season 3, episode 1. Yes, it is officially the start of season 3. And as you can see, if you are watching this episode of the podcast, it's not getting off to a great start. I won't lie. Because there's obviously something very, very big. If you're listening to this, it won't make any difference at all. But if you're watching it, it could make a little bit of a slight difference. You can see that you can see me. Basically, there is the only thing you can see on your screen is the logo. It just the regular logo, the Irish one with the Irish flag in the background and then me there. Yeah, so basically the reason of this, usually, as you know, you have the webcam with me and you see me talking to all you guys if you watch the episodes of the podcast. But the webcam has actually not stopped working completely. It will plug into the computer and the red light for power will come on, but it's not being recognized in any software. So there's obviously a connection issue there for the webcam. I've tried it in all the USB ports and yeah, it's just not working at the moment. So until I get a new one, which I don't know when, for a solo episode of the podcast, when I have a guest on, obviously you don't need to see my face. The guest is up there in the middle of the screen, and you guys are more interested in him than you are me, because you want to obviously find or her obviously, and you want to find out more about the guest, and in guest episodes you don't care really what I have to say. So yeah, for solo episodes like the Sunday episode right now, it is a little bit different. I know maybe it's not as entertaining than actually watching someone speak, even though that doesn't sound too entertaining, but I mean, like, when you can actually see the person's face, it can make quite a big difference when recording an episode of a podcast. So I want to get this fixed as soon as possible. Obviously, as I said, for the people listening to the podcast, it's not an issue at all. Yeah. So coming on to a bit of a lighter tone. It is still season 3, episode 1. So the first episode of season 3, and I'm really excited about it. Season 2 seemed to go on for quite a long time. We had 38 episodes, which was Thursday's episode of the podcast, which I'll talk a little bit more about now in a moment. So 38 episodes. There was like 34 episodes of season 1 of the Running Irishman podcast, or as it was then, the Little Running Irishman podcast. Yeah, obviously since then there has been a good few changes, and I kind of want to until obviously this is Sunday's episode, so we talk about the week of training. But before we get into that, I kind of want to think back to the first season of the podcast and the first few episodes of the podcast, and kind of talk about where we've come and come from, and how far we've come from, and the different kind of setup I had for the podcast along the way. So jumping into that a little bit now, season 1, episode 1, the first ever episode of the Little Running Irishman podcast. It was actually recorded on my bed with earphones in on the Anchor app. So this is when I didn't post to YouTube. It was just to Spotify and Google Podcasts and Anchor and all that and whatnot. But yeah, basically it was just sitting on my bed and talking into the microphone. I was very low pitched, and it was a little bit hard to hear me if the microphone wasn't as good as it was on the iPhone, which is actually not too bad. You would probably been able to hear me at all. And the reason that was because I didn't tell anyone I had the podcast, and I didn't tell anyone in my family I had the podcast, so I didn't want them coming upstairs and kind of thinking I was going crazy and just talking to myself. So yeah, that is why I had to do that. And thinking back from just that one point, we have come a long way. And thinking about it now, it hasn't even been a year, and it's not going to be a year for like another 4 months or so, 3 to 4 months. So that's crazy to think how far we've come in about 8 months. So moving on a little bit then, from that, we had the first guest on the podcast, which is my good mate on my running team, Andrew Gaffney. He kind of came brought the podcast, you say, and brought onto the charts a little bit with the first guest. I had the most listens. It has like 200 listens now. I think it might even be more. I couldn't be near to the 300 listens. Obviously, this one didn't go on YouTube. And at this point, I was still on the phone, and we had to use the integrated guest feature on the Anchor app to actually get everything set up. And it took us 3 to 4 attempts basically to get everything set up. So yeah, it was an interesting one, but it was kind of when the guests started to kick off a little bit. And then I got a few more of my teammates on the podcast, like Kigo and Owen. And yeah, as I said, that's when the guests kind of started to kick off, and I start, thinking about getting some big names, some bigger names, some athletes my age, some older athletes from outside my club onto the podcast. And then, yeah, so that's then, as I said, when the podcast kind of started to take off a little bit for it being only a small podcast. And then I ended up actually posting a link of the podcast onto Facebook for people to share it around. And that's actually when my mom found out about it. She saw the link and she was asking me about it, and I was telling her and all. And that's kind of within the household. The podcast was kind of becoming a little bit more of a real thing, you could say. And that is when I decided to share it on my Instagram, on my Snapchat. And a funny story, actually, on the Instagram, the Running Irishman official Instagram, or back then, which was the Little Running Irishman official Instagram, I basically, I just wanted the Instagram to not really have anything to do with me, just with the podcast, but I accidentally put the name. So you have the actual account name, but then the person name that runs the account, I set that as my actual name. And I start getting people following me who I knew, and I was like, why would they be following me? Like, I've no posts, and they wouldn't be following this random account. And then my mate actually texted me saying, you know your name is on the account. And I was like, what? And I checked it, and I was so scared. And this was actually after when I told all my mates about it, because that's how they knew I had the podcast and the podcast account. Before this happened, yeah, that's when I decided to share it on my Instagram and on my Snapchat. I sent it to my main friend group, into the group chat. They all listened to it. They thought it was really, really good. I actually sent it to my best mate first before I shared it around anywhere else. And he was like, you need to get people to listen to this. It's actually really good. And he isn't even into running. So that was really good to hear. So I decided to share on my Snapchat story and whatnot. And even when I was at this point, I was only getting one listener. And then when I started sharing it around, when I got my first 4 listens, it was intense. And I actually had a little sponsorship on Anchor, that Anchor provide for starting podcasters on their app. And when I got 1 cent from 4 of my mates listening to it, and I was blown away. I was blown out of the park. And then I was just flicking through Snapchat stories, and people close to me, people that I'm mates with, and my really, really good friend group, everyone there was posting a picture of the podcast on the Snapchat stories, tagging me, and like, this is so good. Everyone make sure to check it out. And that kind of took a little bit of weight off my shoulder. I felt like even within my household, my friend group, it could become a real open topic. And I know having a podcast isn't I'm kind of talking about it as if it's something really, really personal to me, but the internet can be a bit of a hard place to put yourself out there and kind of make yourself a little bit vulnerable as such. And so after doing it, as I said, it felt like taking a bit of weight off my shoulder. And as I said, it became a bit of a conversation starter, especially between my mates and all. And when I got a big name on the podcast, I'd be able to tell them and tell my mom, my dad, and everything. And it felt good. And then some people then start following the official Instagram, and some people then when they saw I had guests on, were even reaching out to me, asking can I feature as a guest and whatnot. And then the guests start racking up a little bit, and then I decided to I was thinking about it for a while, and then my mates were also saying it to me to to start posting the podcasts to YouTube, and I was thinking it is a really, really good idea. And, I appreciate everyone that listens to the podcast, obviously, but YouTube, and because it's more convenient for people, does do 99% of the time does do a little bit better, listens, views wise, than actual listens on Anchor and Spotify, which was going to happen. As I said, I feel like some people prefer seeing the guest, seeing the person that's actually recording the episode of the podcast. It feels like they're kind of more there with the person. It's kind of like they're sitting in the room listening to the podcast. Well, and obviously when you're watching or just listening to a podcast on the podcast app, it feels the same as well. But anyway, yeah, back on track here. So that's when I decided to actually attempt posting the episode of the podcast YouTube. Make sure go over to the Running Irishman YouTube channel, or if you're watching this, scroll through a few episodes. They go to the first episode that's just the first video that's on the channel. So like sort by oldest to newest, and you'll come across this video, and I find it's good. As I said, even if it's only been 8 months, I find it's really, really good to have these videos up from where you started off, to then be able to go back and listen to them, and kind of reminisce a little bit, and kind of see how far you've come. And I was kind of thinking of doing a little bit of a 200 subscriber special video of where I go back and listen to small segments of the first few episodes of the podcast, and ones that have been the first few ones on YouTube, the first few ones that were just that were actually just posted to Anchor and Spotify and whatnot. So if you guys want to see a video like that over on the Running Irishman YouTube channel, make sure to text me over on the runirishman.official Instagram, or head over to, there will be a link for anyone listening to this episode of the podcast, and give this video a like if you guys want to see that, because I feel like for a 200 subscriber kind of special, or a 250 subscriber maybe special, we could do something like that. And yeah, so coming back on track a little bit, the first YouTube video that for the podcast that I posted was all over the place, and it was I'll walk you through the entire process. So basically, at the time, to record myself, I was using my school iPad. So I was using my school iPad, had to delete all my pictures and that I had on the iPad, which weren't any use to me. Most of them were just pictures of just random things, really. So I had to delete all the pictures, all apps I didn't use and everything. It wasn't the most convenient source to use to record an episode of the podcast. It wasn't too convenient. But don't worry, everything that was important was kept on my school iPad. So I needed to do that, obviously, because episodes of the podcast can be quite long, as you guys know. And yeah, so I had to do that to record myself, and for actually you guys to hear the guest who was on. So he was the first ever YouTube guest who, for a while there, had the biggest listenership or watch time or views, whichever way you want to put it, over on the YouTube channel. So yeah, I see it a lot, when people first start a YouTube channel and they share it around, especially if you've been doing something else for quite a long time, like I was, just posting the podcast to Anchor. That video tends to do very, very well, but then the views start to drop off drastically. So that video, it could have gotten about 300 views. I'm not too sure. But yeah, it could have gotten about 200 to 300 views. But then I realised, next few episodes I posted out, the views start going down quite drastically. So it was kind of a little bit of a low blow, and I got up here. It has 368 views, and the first 5 episodes of the podcast I posted to YouTube, I have up here in front of me. So the first one has 368, second one has 110, the third one has 161, The fourth one has 61, and the fifth one has 152, which was Derek Donahue, who was my first guest outside of the running team. So that's why that video done pretty well. I'll get more into other other concepts of the YouTube channel now in a moment, but on just in terms of the first ever episode of the podcast, basically during the recording, I had on my phone through the Anchor, so I could post that to Anchor. So I was using that guest feature so he could hear me as well. And then the iPad was used to record me, and it was also used to pick up the sound of my voice and Owen's voice for the YouTube channel. So back then, and it has up here, that was 8 months ago since that was recorded. So it's mad how far we've come. I'll get a little bit more into that now in a moment. But basically, yeah. Then I had 3 files, or 3 videos, you could say, on my school iPad that I used to upload. And the reason for that was it kept saying low storage, like, and I was getting really scared. I thought I'd have to scrap the whole YouTube thing right there and then. But we finished out the episode, and I had the 3 files, and I didn't know what to do then. I had no clue what to do. I had not enough space on my iPad to transport the files from my iPad to my phone, or my iPad to the laptop. So I didn't know what to do. I ended up looking up YouTube videos. I'm not going to talk through that entire process. And eventually I got it up. If you guys go back and watch that episode of the podcast, you will see there's actually a watermark that keeps popping up on the screen. And basically what that is when some editors and the editing softwares and whatnot have watermarks that if you buy the trial version and you render the video, it will have a little watermark, like a little logo of their brand in the corner or whatnot. And they kept flashing up and down the screen. And it took me a total of 7 hours to get the files, put them on the laptop, and figure out how to render the file, because I was trying to post it straight from the file to YouTube on the laptop. I was like, just had the correct format and whatnot, so I realised I had to render it. I had to make a few texts to figure that one out. But basically then we got there in the end. But then I realised, I can't be doing this. I can't really be doing this all the time, every time I want to post a podcast. It just takes way too long, and as you know, convenience is key. So I decided to basically get my dad's laptop and try figure out a software that I can use there that wouldn't have the watermark like my first one did, which is Movavi, which is the software I use to record video and audio and edit and render podcasts now. It's a great software. I really, really do recommend it. So I was looking over the internet for loads and loads and loads of different ones. I ended up getting a few, and I ended up getting one actually, and I'm not too sure how I ended up getting the next few episodes of the podcast out. But then eventually, I think for the third, fourth, and so on and so on up until this point, I started using, and I actually purchased Movavi. And as I said, convenience is key, and Movavi is very, very convenient, as well as a really, really great software. So yeah, that's then when I started using the laptop, and I started getting more guests on the podcast, because all I had to do then was call them on Skype, screen record, and away I go. So then after the 5th episode of the podcast went live over on YouTube, I decided to make a little bit of a vlog, and it's honestly mad to think that vlog, which now has 270 views, went live 8 months ago. Yeah, it's really, the time really did fly, and it wasn't the worst vlog in the world for my first vlog. I was proud of it, but wasn't the best. I could have. Maybe I was going to say I could have added a bit more effort to it, but I put so much effort into editing this vlog. Maybe I could have done a little bit more research on vlogging before actually recording this vlog. But look, I was happy with how it came out. It was something different, and this is what I love about having the YouTube. It allows me to do things like the vlog, like reviews, like I've done in the past. So yeah, it was definitely something interesting, and I realized when that got views, like those 270 views, 150 of those maybe came in the first day, and I was like, wow, this can really change. This will really change the growth of the of the YouTube channel and of the podcast. But again, it was kind of like, oh, this is something different. This is the first time he's doing this. Everyone's gonna check it out, and then it started easing off again. And just like it was when I shared around the first episode of the podcast that wasn't on YouTube, that I got a good few listens. And the same as when I shared around the episode of the podcast that the first one I posted to YouTube. So then I was looking into getting my own laptop. For a few different reasons. Sometimes my dad would be needing the laptop. It was too slow for rendering. I didn't want to be taking up space on my dad's laptop, and it was too slow for upload speeds. And it wasn't for a while. I'm gonna look up here when I actually done my first episode of the podcast on the new computer, and it was season 1 episode. It was, let me see, my first Thursday session on the podcast and more. Season 1 episode 30. I'm pretty sure it was season 1 episode 30 when I done the first episode of the podcast. Yeah, it was first episode of the podcast with my first computer was season 1 episode 30, and that's when I kind of started getting really into it. I had my own setup, which by no means was a good setup. The computer was even dodgy, and I've come a long way with my computer knowledge and setup knowledge since then. The desk was tiny, and it took me a while to actually get a webcam. And looking at that, then it kind of feels like I'm going a little bit backwards now, not breaking the webcam not working anymore. But sure, look, we've still come a long way. I'll be looking into fixing that soon enough. So yeah, that's when I got my new setup, and I didn't need to be using my dad's laptop anymore. Until that computer kind of went out the window. It was just having so many problems. I was trying to upgrade a few parts, so that kind of set me back for recording some episodes of the podcast. And actually, a funny story with that, basically with that computer, when recording the episode of the podcast with Leo Dashback, which was a very big episode for me. It has 114 views. Basically, it didn't actually record my audio. And I was so upset. And I was so scared because Leo Dashbra, big name, and especially for my little podcast, was a big name to come on. And I was like, right, I can't ask him to come back on and do another hour and 6-minute podcast. And I have to think of something. So what I had to do was use the voiceover feature for when he had the list of questions in front of me. I had to get the answer of the question, and then I had to ask that question and line everything up perfectly. And none of you guys realised that. And I'm really happy about that. If you want to go back and listen to that episode of the podcast or watch it, you might be able to be noticed then because you know now. That's kind of my top secret. But yeah, you didn't really notice that, which I was pretty proud of. So yeah. That really annoyed me, but we moved on from there and we recorded a good few episodes on that computer until I got this computer. Not too much has changed since then. I'll kind of flick back through. I've signed big sponsorship deals for specific episodes of the podcast. I've done reviews like the 9 Zoom Streak 7s, the what else? The Black Roll Ireland product reviews. I done where is it here? I've done the US Army Fitness Challenge. I've done commentary videos. I've done where is it? I've done another rest day vlog. I've had more big names on the podcast. I've an episode here that has 600 views. And obviously we are on 215 subscribers and have and we also have 2,500 total plays over all platforms of the podcast. It now look at the setup. I know you guys can't see it right now because of the webcam situation. We have a toner Q9 condenser, pretty professional looking and sounding microphone. We have, a new big desk. We have 2 monitors to have the information I need for the podcast on, and then have the guest on the other one and whatnot. We have a high-end computer to render videos, edit videos, and post videos. And we have come really a long way since then. And again, I want to thank you all for people that have stuck around since day one, who have been there on the not so great episodes and the great episodes, the vlogs, the reviews, the not so great sessions, the not so great runs, and the great sessions and the great runs. Or even if you've just subscribed just to help out the podcast. I really appreciate y'all. And we're currently sitting at 215 subscribers, so make sure to get down and smash that subscribe button. And let's aim for 400 subscribers for 2020 for 2021. We got to 215 in 8 months. So we can now at the rate that we're growing and the episodes I'm putting out and the different videos I'm putting out and the support you guys are showing, we could easily get the 400 subscribers by the end of the year. So make sure, even if you're listening to this episode of the podcast, smash that subscribe button. But as I said, since I got the computer, not much has drastically changed. Obviously, I got the new setup, which is convenient for me, and the better microphone. And Gobi Moore have helped me out sharing the podcast and send me over products. I'm really happy where I've come with them, being the Youth Irish Ambassador, and big things to come with them in the future, and bigger sponsorships as well to come in the future. So yeah, guys, as well, I just want to thank you for the support on Thursday's episode of the podcast. We're currently sitting at like 230 views on that, which is absolutely amazing. I was really happy to have Scott and Abdel on. I knew that episode would do really well. We're sitting at 250 views, which I am really happy about. So thank you all very much for that, and we can keep showing that continuous support. And real quick before we jump into this week's training, I just want to talk about 3 small things. So sorry about not being able to post an episode of the podcast last Sunday. Basically, I had something to do in the morning. I got a package and I had to do something with the setup, which took a little bit longer than expected. It was just cable managing things, but it was just really annoying. And it was a 75-minute run, and I was doing something that evening as well. As I said on Instagram, I was gonna do it on the Monday, but online school has started back, and fitting that in and runs in as well, and trying to fit podcasts in as well. It has become a little bit of a challenge, especially now that I'm starting back recording live episodes of the podcast with guests, which have to be out before Thursday. So the pressure's on just a tad bit. But look, I'll be still getting the podcast out. Sorry for not being able to post last Sunday. And on that note, because of that, I have no real runs and sessions to compare to last week, except for Tuesday's session, which I'll be able to compare from this week to last week. Also, what I was kind of thinking was, and actually no, I wasn't thinking this, I was actually given it as an idea from my mate, and it's actually quite a good idea that I might introduce if you guys would like to see it. So I need to give him all the credit for this idea. It is actually quite a good one. I can't take any credit for this idea at all, but basically he said to me, like, I was telling him that the Sunday episodes don't do as good as the guest episodes, obviously, because some people just want to hear about the guests, and which is absolutely fine. I understand that completely. It's really just the OGs and the ones who want to find out how I'm getting on in training. come and listen to or watch the Sunday episodes of the podcast. But he was saying like implement like a vlog into like a vlog style. So vlog the Sunday day, vlog my run and everything, and at the end of the vlog, sit down, talk about the week of training, and just it will make it a bit more entertaining for you guys, and it'll be kind of like something for you to look forward to maybe at the end of the week. A little bit of a special vlog. I was thinking about doing that. If you want to see that, make sure to like this episode of the podcast and subscribe. Turn the notification bell on to be notified if that goes live and I implement that idea. It'll just be a little bit tricky because recording a vlog and getting it out that day and editing it and getting it out that day will be a little bit tricky to kind of do all in one day. Usually if I do a vlog, I'll record and get the files together, maybe next day edit it. And because doing this episode of the podcast alone takes up a good bit of time, so never mind doing an entire video, but I'll definitely try and make it work, and I'll test it out one Sunday. So yeah, I need to thank you for that episode of or not that episode of podcast, for that idea, and hopefully I'll be able to implement that very, very soon. So finally now moving on to the week of training, Tuesday. So actually, yeah, I'm starting with Tuesday real quick because I wasn't able to run on Monday. So I wasn't able to do I was able to do a run Sunday, but I wasn't able to do a run on Monday. The reason I wasn't able to do a run on Monday was because that was the first day of online school starting, and I was just getting back into the routine of school. It was a little bit of a busy day school-wise, so I just decided to not run that day. Let the kind of routine set back in a little bit, figure out how I'm going to implement schoolwork, recovery, and doing a run or a session. And what I've decided on doing is do my schoolwork, right? So have the school day. On my big break, I will foam roll and kind of get ready for the run or session. When school's done, do a few stretches and go out for my run, or if it's a session, go down to the park and do my session there. And yeah, so that's how I kind of thought the process through by not running on Monday, which I feel like was smart. But the thing is, I done quite high mileage this week, and I also wrote down what the mileage would have been if I had run on Monday. And so I'm still pretty proud of myself. But yeah, that's just a little bit of backstory why I wasn't able to run on Monday. Moving on to Tuesday, the weather was 6 degrees Celsius at 100% humidity. Apparently, it was actually quite warm out, humidity wise, which is obviously good to see. This week was not too cold by any means, and as I said, this was the first day of implementing skill recovery and a session, or just running in general into my week. So yeah, basically it was a little bit of a busy, hectic day, but I was able to get it done in the end. I'm able to compare this session, which was a 5x1k, to last Tuesday. It's the only bit I'm able to compare this week. But anyway, so we done 5x1k, we done some warm-up stretches and strides. The first one was 4:13, the second one was 4:21, the third one was 4:18, the fourth one was 4:19, and the last one was 4:28. Last week I went 4:21, so this week was better. 4:29, this week is still better. 4:19, this week is still better. 4:30, this week is still better. And then 4:26, which was 2 seconds slower this week on the last one. So overall, a much better session this week. Decent session overall, not the best, but decent enough. I want to real quick talk about the first rep of each week, because the first rep I've done in both this week and last week's session, I felt really, 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 really horrible on. Like, I felt I was dying, and I don't know why. Obviously, comparing the times, I'm going a little bit fast on the first one, which is like, I'm not doing it on purpose. It's just kind of happening, and it feels absolutely horrible. But then I do the next one and the next one and the next one, and I get into it more. So I know I'm meant to get more tired the later the later the session goes on. But I was actually feeling better as the session progressed. So yeah, it was a decent, as I said, decent session overall. The first one the past 2 weeks has hurt a lot and didn't really set me up great for the session. But look, we'll move on and get the session done at the end of the day. Wednesday was 7 degrees Celsius at 8% humidity. Season 3, episode 1, Weatherman Kiddo back on the scene for the brand new season. Wednesday was 50 minutes. It was 9k on the dot at 5:47 per kilometer, or 5.59 miles at 9 minutes 18 seconds per mile. Went really slow after Tuesday's session, but altogether not a too bad run. Moving on to Thursday. Thursday was an 8 degrees Celsius at 76% humidity and was a 50-minute run as usual. I done 9.82k at 5 minutes 9 seconds per kilometer, or 6.10 miles at 8 minutes 18 seconds per mile. Compared to the 15-minute run on Wednesday, I done 820 meters more, and then I done 5 minutes 47 seconds per kilometer on Wednesday, and 5 minutes 9 seconds per kilometer on Thursday. I definitely did feel I went a good bit faster, or a little bit faster anyway, on Thursday, so it was good to see a bit of progression there. Friday, I had a rest day, so I played football with a good few of my mates. It was really good. And I also done a home workout that was set by our PE teacher, which had me feeling stiff for Saturday. So moving on to Saturday, with 6 degrees Celsius at 76% humidity. The session was, I kind of mixed it up a little bit. Our coach set this for us, was 5 by 4 minutes hard. So as usual, I done my jog warm up, and then stretches and strides. I done 5.77k at 4:30 per kilometer, or 3.56 miles at 7:15 per mile. Decent session. As I said, it was a little bit. I was a little bit stiff after doing the whole body workout on Friday. I need to start implementing those a good bit more into my week, and maybe do them 2-3 times a week, just to build up a little bit more strength while I can't go to the gym. As soon as they open, I'll be going back, or not going back to the gym, starting the gym, to help build up a little bit of core strength, upper body strength, and especially leg strength for my running, which I feel will help me a lot. So as of right now, I feel like I need to implement a few of these home workouts into my week, which I feel like will help a good bit. But as I said, I had me stiff for Saturday because I haven't done a home workout in a while. It did feel good. I done a good bit of session on Saturday, a good bit of foam rolling on Saturday before the session, which had me feeling a little bit better. It was not too bad of a session. I know it says 4 minutes 30 seconds per kilometer, or 7 minutes 15 seconds per mile, but the reason those paces are slow is because of the slow time. Today I went a minute, so it was basically 5 by 4 minutes hard with a minute 30 slow. So 4 minutes hard, a minute 30 slow. So if it took out the minute 30 slow, it will be drastically faster. In 26 minutes I done 5.77k, which the 26 is implemented obviously the 1 minute 30 second break, because 5 by 4 is 20. Which I'm not too disappointed about. It does sound quite good, and so yeah, not too bad of a session, and yeah, still a little bit sore and stiff from the home workout. Moving on to Sunday, was 7 degrees Celsius at 82% humidity. It was a 75-minute run as usual, 13.40k at 5 minutes 14 seconds, or 41 seconds per kilometer, or 8.10 miles at 9 minutes 10 seconds per mile. Decent run, went slow as I usually do on a Sunday run, just to get a nice long bit of recovery in there as I can. Not too much to say about that. Moving on to the total kilometers of this week was 42.99k, with 5.49k if I about that. So I added 8.5k on, which is 51.49. So it would be about that if I'd ran on Monday, which is quite high mileage to be fair. But still not too bad mileage with 42.99k, or 26.71 miles. As you all know, I don't implement the warm up and cool down into that. And obviously I don't implement Friday's rest day running around in that. Let's see, is there anywhere else really I could have maybe boosted the mileage this week? Obviously I done 2 50-minute runs, which helped a little bit as well. So no, not nowhere there really, except for if I'd ran on Monday, the mileage would have been a good bit bigger. But I'm happy with this week as well. Moving on to wrap up this episode of the podcast. Question of the week this week is goals for 2020 run with running and the podcast. So starting off with running, obviously just keep training until we get back with the team, which I'm really looking forward to. I'm kind of starting to dread this training on my own, even though I've only been doing it for about a week or two. So yeah, I want to get back with the team as quickly as possible, even though it might hurt a little bit more. It's still the team gets you through the session a lot easier than running on your own. Obviously the banter and the lads as well. So yeah, I want to keep training, get back with the team as soon as possible. A big goal, fitness and running wise, as I mentioned, I want to start the gym. I feel like that will help my running a lot. I'm really, really light, and I feel like sprinting, speed, and strength wise, that leaves me at a big disadvantage, obviously, because I'm not applying as much force and power into the ground as some of the bigger lads on my team, or some of the bigger lads that are on the starting line. So I want to go to the gym, get a little bit stronger, a little bit bigger, and to really help improve my running and maybe push it to the next level if possible. And as well, whichever races come my way, qualify for the All-Irelands as a team, hopefully be able to qualify for the All-Irelands as an individual. The team get gold in the Dublins this year. We've come second and we've come third, so it's definitely a possibility for the team to get gold in Dublins this year. Do a little bit better as a team and individually in the All-Irelands, and just take every race the best I can, whichever race that is. Dublin's, All-Irelands, club races, time trials, anything I can. Put the training to good use, and obviously the big one, or the most different one there, is to try start getting in to the gym to help my running improve. For the podcast, no signs of it slowing down anytime soon. I'm gonna keep grinding, getting out the podcast and orientating school and running and the podcast all around each other, but mainly kind of orientating them around school, because school is important, all that crap. But yeah, just getting the podcast out, getting bigger guests on the podcast, building a bigger community on, Patreon, Instagram, YouTube, listeners to the podcast, just building a bigger community, trying new things, trying new vlogs, getting, as I said, new sponsorships and big guests in the future. Hopefully I can meet a few more of my idols on the podcast and be able to have great conversations with them. And I say a few more, I've already met a few of them on the podcast, which is crazy to say. So wrapping that up, they are my goals for 2021 when it comes to running and the podcast. Guys, I hope you enjoyed this different episode of the podcast in many ways. Obviously no webcam, so you're just looking at a picture of the logo if you're watching it on YouTube for the entire episode of the podcast. Hopefully I can get a new webcam, or this one fixed soon enough. Reminiscing over the past 8 months, giving my story a little bit about the podcast. If you want to see me do a video, like listening and watching the first episodes of the podcast, make sure to drop a like on this video, because I'd actually love to do that. Make sure to head over to the Running Irishman official Instagram. Give me a follow over there to be kept up to date on when future episodes and YouTube videos go live. And also I post exclusive posts over there as well. Subscribe to the channel. As I said, we're on 215 subscribers. We're growing very quickly. So if you could help support the channel any way you can, make sure to do so. Turn the notification bell on to be notified when future videos and episodes of the podcast go live. Also give this episode a like, as it helps me out a ton. Patreon is patreon.com/Running Irishman. If you can head over there, it's either €5, €7, or €10 to help support the podcast. Pay for better mics in the future, and pay for Movavi software, and much more. It really does help out the quality of the podcast a lot. I post early episodes of the podcast, exclusive episodes of the podcast, exclusive posts, and you can also interact with me a good bit more over there as well. Also with TikTok, the Running Irishman. If you can look me up on TikTok, give me a follow. I'd love to grow over there a little bit more. I do content on running and tech content as well, because I'm big into that over there. So if you can help me out with that, I'd be greatly appreciative. As I said, guys, hope you all enjoyed this different episode of the podcast. I definitely did. A good start to season 3, episode 1, or a good start to season 3, I should say. I hope you all enjoyed, and I'll see you all next time. Bye.